Hello guys, welcome to SRHIN's Health Podcast, your best bet on health-related tips. I am Deborah Jeremiah, popularly known as Debbie Mike. And today I brought a very interesting topic, one that you don't want to miss, on water sanitation, hygiene, food handling, and then we'll be talking about this thing killing everybody, cholera. And you know what, guys? I am not always alone in the studio. I bring in guests that helps us dissect this conversation. And today, when you hear the word, the light has come, that is the person I have with me in the studio. The light, the Omwale Chanwa, the number one clinical nutritionist in the whole of Africa that I know and I am very proud of. He's here with me in the studio. Guys, drum rolls, let's welcome my guest. The light has come. You know, Nigeria, when you hear light, up NEPA, everybody's excited. That is what I have with me in the studio. Jesuem Kelly Chukudi. You're welcome. All right, so what are the basic water hygiene practices that we really need to pay attention to? You know, when we say we really need to focus on our water hygiene, what are those basic things we really need to pay attention to as individuals and even as families?
Okay, first off, you have to identify your water source.
That's true. Not everybody actually pay, because me personally, I just want to jump on any water actually. So that's true.
You have to identify the source of your water, because if you don't do that, you are very much unsure where that water is coming from. And
those are some of the things that could actually cause cholera that we don't pay attention. Wow. Yeah, that's true. To form those diseases. That's true. That's true.
So after identifying your water source, what are you using the water to do? So are you using it for like household things, like maybe washing of clothes, your laundry? Are you using it to wash your dishes? Are you using it to
cooking?
Are you consuming it? Are you drinking it?
That's true.
So if your water is coming from maybe a well or from a tap, you know very much that you have to pay more attention. Exactly. There are a lot of things like underground seepage into the well. And we're in rainy season now. A lot of wells are very close to
the sockways. Exactly.
And the content of the sockaway begins to wash.
That's true. That's true.
Onto the tap. So these are things you need to identify and pay attention to. So after you've identified your source, the next thing is to treat the water. Because you're not just identifying your source for
how many people's sake. I want to say, how many people still really treat their waters? How many people really?
It takes a lot of intentionality.
That's
Anything
true.
relating to your health takes a lot of intentionality. It's not something you can do in a breeze or in a nonchalant manner. You have to be intentional.
That's true.
In our country where things are tough, a lot of people begin to prioritize things they focus on. Because you're stressed at work, you're stressed at home,
and then you have to,
and then you have to start thinking,
I need
water.
But
it's your health, and your health is very precious, very, very precious, and it's something you should consider a priority despite other things you're going through. So after identifying a source of water, if your water is coming from a well or from a tap or from a borehole, you need to treat the water.
That's true.
One of the common water treatment methods is boiling. You could boil the water.
Then you're saying boiling.
Yes.
I beg to interrupt, but then the cost of
gas.
I don't want to say, but the cost of actually filling your gas and then you're telling me to boil water. It's not like the power supply is even steady for us to even use the electric. So
even electricity tariff is high.
So it's quite taxing.
Yes. So that's not the only water treatment method. You can filter.
I think that's quite
your water.
That's true.
So after filtering the water, and all these water treatment tools have to be clean, because you don't want to filter your water with a dirty cloth.
That's
you're
true.
Just negating the entire process.
Yeah, that's true. Some people actually have. I think while I was growing up, I mentioned that my mom was very intentional with water. She doesn't. Once a water is open, she will not. If you use it, you're in trouble. She will flog you. So I noticed some of our neighbors there. They tend to just have their filter, this clothes they use to filter. So then they just use it, dump it somewhere. Tomorrow they just
dust.
They go and pick it, and then I say, what's the essence of actually doing that? And then you are saying you want your water to be. So some persons don't take those things very careful. I think that will bring us to the conversation on how we even handle those kits we use for our water preservation and all of those things, because we might put chlorine, we might understand our water source, but then the equipment, our bowls, our containers, the filter, how well do we handle them? Are there things we really need to pay attention to?
Yes, there are things you need to pay attention to, because you don't want to treat your water and make it safe for consumption and use, and then you now store it in a dirty container, because it's just negating the entire process. You've gone through the hectic process
of either boiling or
the wasted gas,
hot stuff, cereal,
you added chlorine. That one costs money. You now pour that safe water into a dirty container. You're just going back to square one.
And I want to say, some of us are actually, some persons, let me not say some of us, some persons are actually used to their container being neat. They assume that so long as they are not seeing dirt. But then I've observed that when you put water into a container, a bowl, the bottom, the down parts of it, there this it looks very sleepy. But we don't pay attention to it because we don't tend to see those stuff. So but then I don't know, how do we emphasize that people should properly wash with sponge? Some persons don't even wash their container with sponge. I don't want us to go there. They just use hand and let's not cast. We are good people. We just want to talk about how they should exactly. So but then these things, can you help us stress it, let people understand why they really need to do all of these things?
Yes, you need to ensure that your container that you're storing water is clean. And beyond the container, retrieval process of taking out water is another thing. You've now ensured that the container is clean. You've washed it with soap and water. You've rinsed it. You've added a little bit of chlorine, and then you added safe water. You shake it, and then you wait for a little while so that it begins to kill all the microbes that you can't see with your eyes. And then you pour it out and then rinse it again. After doing that, and then you add your treated water into that kind of container, probably a big container, because you don't want to be having to boil water
every time. That's true.
It's not cost effective. So maybe like 20 liters of water is like the ideal quantity or volume of water you should be treating per time. So I mentioned the retrieval process of water. You don't want to dip a dirty bowl or a dirty cup inside your water.
And then the hand we even use. So there are hands that we just go out, we touch anything. And then with this cholera, I don't know, but these are, for me, I think those are some of the things I really know are the causes of cholera, because our hands are contaminated. Some of us don't even wash our hands when we get back in, and then you just come, let me cook, just put the bowl, and then your water gets
microbes in your hand, enters treated water, supposedly treated water. It's
and then at the long run, you still keep seeing yourself maybe having those symptoms of this waterborne disease.
Like, oh my god, I added chlorine, I brought my water, I filtered it. But the retrieval process is also something you need to pay attention to. So you would usually advise that the container should have like a tap. Like a tap opening at the base. So you know that you're not touching anything
inside
like,
the water.
Your hand inside, you're not putting any cup inside. And even if you don't have that kind of container that has like a tap opening at the bottom, ensure that the container that you're using to pour
is separate.
And that's the only one. Where you're keeping it is safe. Before you dip it, you wash it, rinse it out.
Because we have some persons that we use the same container to even bathe. They put it inside their big drums, and then I've seen something like that. I've actually seen something like that.
And then there's just cross-contamination from your bathroom that you use the bowl to take your bath to the kitchen.
Because these things are really, they are serious. They are quite serious. Very. Because I've heard someone say, it's the bowl. So long as I'm boiling the water, when they dip the same bowl they use for bathing inside their other water source, they then fetch the water. They'll tell you that they are using it to cook, so it will still be on fire, and then it will take the microbes and all of those viruses out. How true is this?
The thing is, not all microbes would readily die during the entire cooking process.
Really?
So if you're ensuring that the retrieval process, you have to pay very close attention to it, because there are some microbes that can withstand heat. Some would withstand cold. That's why sometimes you have to like refrigerate your chicken, your meat in the freezer, because those microbes would be in like an hibernated situation. So everybody feels like, I'm going to cook the food, so there's no problem. But how many minutes are you actually cooking the food? Some of these microbes can withstand the heat. So
of just maybe 30 minutes of cooking or
hot. That's another thing. Are you eating food when it is hot? Are you going to some people don't like hot food.
Yeah,
like, let's
get cold.
And even when they're making it cool down, they're open.
Oh my god.
So it's just like one vicious cycle of all these minute things that people don't readily pay attention to.
And that's where the fact that you emphasize on intentionality also comes into it. It's something that we really need to get intentional about. It is. I just pray God helps us to really pay attention to it. And the fact that when we practice this thing, it is safer for our health. It gives us a very healthy lifestyle, and then we are free from some of these diseases like cholera and waterborne diseases that we see. Now, you've mentioned some of the water purification method, the filtering, and all of those things. Now, let's go to food handling, because when we talk about water, it's one thing that we should focus on, but then going further, the food we eat. How do we handle this? But let me start from the water we use for the food. How does the water quality we use affect the safety and the handling of our food? Does it in any way affect?
Yes, of course it does, because there's literally no food preparation process that you will not use water.
What of frying? I want to fry plantain. Do I have to use water?
That's like a rare exception.
Okay.
For majority, most times you're not going to eat that plantain alone.
Yeah.
You probably eat it with rice.
Yeah, that's true. Even the frying pan you have to wash. That's true.
The utensils, you have to use water to wash them.
I mean, funny enough, I love to even rinse my plantains before frying, because the hand, you're peeling it, and then the peels, you are still rubbing it on the same plantain, and then you just. So I like to actually rinse mine before. Yeah, so I'm listening.
So beyond that, you know that water is used for most food preparation procedures.
That's true.
For washing your cooking utensils, even your food serving utensils, for even ice. The ice you use in your drink, maybe you have an ice maker in your refrigerator. Yeah. The water you use should also be paid attention to, because you don't want to use contaminated water to make your ice, and then you add it to your drink, and then your drink is contaminated. All these things affect the safety of the food we consume, because water is a very important ingredient in food preparation. Yes.
So now, what are the steps that we can take to ensure that our food is prepared and stored safely using clean water? What are those steps that we really need to ensure to make our food safe while we are still using clean water?
So it goes back to water hygiene.
Okay.
All the procedures I mentioned, identifying your source, the source that you would use to cook, the source that you use to bathe, the source that you would consume. Going back to identification, and if you're not sure of the safety of the water, you would have to treat it.
Exactly. That's
true. So after treating, that's when you now use it to cook or to prepare your meal. And even when it comes to storage, the containers you use to store, how clean are they? Are they washed thoroughly with clean water and soap? Are they rinsed well? Because a lot of us are very lazy.
Very lazy. Just I washed it last night now. Why do I have to wash after 3 days?
In the middle of the night? Do you know how many cockroaches?
And sometimes you even tend to forget. Maybe when cooking, that's if you don't have water source in the kitchen. We might be cooking and just forget to even close the container. But we just cover it again and continue from where we stopped.
The 5 minutes that it was open will not really count. It counts. Yes.
And before you know, some family, you see someone throwing up, you see people vomiting, and then you cannot really trace where these things are coming from. We now blame the weather, say it's the weather, it's malaria, but then these are things that I feel really prompt those diseases and sickness that we face. So now let's I want us to really bring this conversation to cholera, because cholera is trending and it's really a deadly disease. It's really deadly. can you elaborate more? What exactly are the connection between poor water sanitation and the spread of cholera? Is there any connection at first?
There is.
So what are those connections between poor water sanitation and then the spread of cholera?
So cholera is a waterborne disease, and it's also a foodborne disease, because you know that you use water to prepare food, amongst many other things.
Okay.
So if your water is contaminated with maybe fecal matter, because a person suffering from cholera, the fecal matter of that person is already infested with Vibrio cholera. That's the bacteria that causes cholera disease.
Yeah.
So in cases where the water is contaminated with that bacteria, and you consume that water and use it to prepare food, that's a connection. You've already ingested the bacteria. If your antibodies are not strong enough to combat that bacteria or that microbe, the person would come down with cholera, and then you see symptoms like vomiting, diarrhea, like watery stool, abdominal cramps, muscle cramps, dehydration, because you are losing a lot of fluids and electrolytes by excessive excretion, like by vomiting and then by defecating. So all those things, now we can see the connection between the water and cholera. Yes.
That's really true. So now, you mentioned some of those things that like vomiting and stooling. So can you tell us more on the signs and symptoms of cholera before we now go to how they can be prevented? Because I feel beyond just stooling and maybe throwing up, what are other things that are signs, that are things that we would see and then you know that cholera is already knocking at the door? Yeah,
or it's even already in the house.
Exactly.
Yes. So it's the frequency of the defecation that matters.
Okay, because I don't want to say that maybe after now I will now start to be, very careful. If I just see myself going to the toilet, I feel I already, because
it's paranoid.
So it's something we should establish here. So
ideally, I think the normal time, like amount of times you should defecate in a day, should be like maybe 2 times max.
Okay.
So if you're defecating more than 2 times and you're feeling weakness, and with the defecation you're also vomiting, you should know that something is wrong. Because you wouldn't even feel good. And a lot of times people just downplay it, like it's not that serious. Maybe I'm just purging.
Because it's true. We blame purging. Just say, no, I'm just purging. That's true. That's true.
You didn't use a laxative and you're purging. You didn't eat a high fiber diet, but you are seemingly purging. All these things you need to consider. Did I take a laxative? Why am I defecating multiple times?
What is can you say that? Can you pronounce that again? Laxative. So what are those?
So laxatives are like chemical components that you consume, and then they aid bowel movement. They assist in increasing the rate of defecation. Yes.
So we have something like that.
Yes.
Funny enough, I'm just getting
something like Andrew liver salt now. Yes, that helps. That's a laxative. And there are other tons of laxatives in the pharmaceutical industry. Okay. So you didn't take a laxative. You didn't take high fiber diet that would ensure that your bowel is emptied, and you're defecating and you're vomiting, and after some point you are feeling weak, you're dehydrated, like seriously dehydrated, and even drinking water is not really helping because you've lost a lot of electrolytes and fluids. At that point, if you already know that there's a very big problem, and you shouldn't even wait to that point before you seek medical attention.
And some of us, we feel when you go to the hospital, everybody tags you as being unwell and all of those things. So I feel, and then how do you just walk? Do you think it's ideal for me to just go to and tell them I'm purging? Will they even pay attention to us at the hospital?
But you have to insist, even if they seemingly do not pay attention to you, you have to insist, because this is your health. You have to insist that the medical practitioner does some investigation and finds out. They might ask you to do a fecal test. All these things they are supposed to conduct proper biochemical investigations to find out what exactly the problem is. But from symptoms alone, they might rule it out that this is cholera. Because you're already weak. They will ask you, how many times have you vomited? How many times have you defecated? All those things will point out to what is going on in your body. So all these things, even if you feel like your steez will not reduce.
Exactly. Yeah.
Your steez will increase. Because if you're in your house and you're just defecating anyhow, you're vomiting, any small thing, you vomited, all those things. That's why your steez is reducing, if you're being honest.
So guys, don't reduce your steez. Please go to the hospital when you need to.
Yes, because any diagnosis would save you from a lot of complications.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of complications, because there's sometimes that even when you administer oral rehydration salts, ORS, in water, in fluid, it might not be enough to replenish fluids, and electrolytes that have been lost. And then they start to pass intravenous fluids. That's the drip.
Okay, let me pause you for a moment. Now, you mentioned something about people taking ORS.
Yeah.
You know, when people see some of these symptoms, I want to ask, you know, many people they patronize self-medication. Now, and then we are talking about cholera. How do we advise and encourage people to really desist from self-medication when they see some of these signs? They might look minor and minimal, but then we really need to pay attention. Some people will just jump on PCM, paracetamol, they jump on ORS like you mentioned and say, it's just normal. When I take this one, I'll be fine. So does self-medication actually help to even curb the spread of the cholera when we start seeing some of these signs and symptoms?
Self-medication is even preached against, because if you're not a medical professional, if you don't have a medical degree or you're not in the medical field, you are probably not sure of what you're supposed to do to help yourself. Someone that went to school to study a medical degree for 5, 6, 7, 8 years would have more knowledge on how to treat and prefer medical interventions to you in that case. So please, self-medication, run. Because the money you're trying to save with self-medication, you can't just go to the hospital. Because when complications arise, the money you were trying to save, you will spend times 3.
That's true. Okay, before we wrap up quickly, I'll just ask, I don't know if I can just blend the questions together.
Sure.
How can proper nutrition play a role in strengthening our body to fight against waterborne diseases like cholera? How does proper food, you know you're in clinical nutrition, so how can our nutrition strengthen our body? Because excuse me, I feel everybody just jump on anything. There's no money, so we just eat anything. So does our nutrition actually play a larger role to help us fight against this disease called cholera?
Yes, it does, because if you're consuming adequate diet that has a lot of antioxidants, a lot of proteins, like everything is balanced and adequate for your nutritional needs, your body will be able to fight against this kind of diseases. At least, and even if you get sick, your recovery process will be a lot faster than someone that is malnourished.
Can you mention some of this food, this nutrition, some of these things?
So it's not like a particular food. I think that's where people get things mixed up.
Some of us even consume fruits like no man's business. They say we should eat fruits.
Eat fruits, yes. It's important to eat fruits. But what type of fruits are you eating? Where are you getting the fruits from? Is it fruits that has been opened to the entire world?
Just consume. You see people even eating orange on the road, tearing watermelons.
Wash your hand, all those.
Or even wash the fruit, because you don't even know
where the fruit came from. What the food handler even did to the food before he sold it, he or she sold it to you. So all those things. Ensuring that your food contains, when you're eating your meal, there should be portions of vegetables, there should be portions of carbohydrates, like maybe your rice or your tubers, there should be portions of protein, your fish, your chicken, your eggs, yes, all those things should be on your plate. More of vegetables. Like half of your plate should have vegetables. I know a lot of people don't like vegetables, but if you're an adult, in my own opinion, if you're an adult and you say you don't like vegetables, I'm like, really? Like, really? This is something that is good for you. And there are alternatives you can blend. If you know that you don't like it, you can eat a smoothie.
Yeah, that's true.
It's from ladies, guys.
Yeah, I actually love smoothie.
Yes,
I
you
love
can
smoothie.
blend it. But one thing is that if you do that too frequently, a lot of the fiber is lost.
Really? Yes. But then I feel personally, I want to say most time when I do some of those blending, I don't add other things except for water.
Yes.
So is that
that's
still
good.
okay?
That's good. Okay. But sometimes maybe you want to, like, what's the word now? You want to add, maybe you want to make juice. Most especially juices. you would want to extract the juice.
Yes.
The fiber is still there. You're just drinking direct sugar. So you're still kind of altering the process.
Okay.
You have ultra processed the fruit, and it's a lot better to just take your fruits directly, but ensure that the source of your food, your fruits, are clean, hygienic. Because if you say, okay, I'm trying to take fruits, but they're not from hygienic sources, it's just more problems.
Okay, now while we wrap up, I just wanted to answer this and then give your final words. What would you tell people that stay in poor water and that are living in a very poor environment, that they don't have quality? What would you tell people who are living in areas with poor water sanitation? So what advice or recommendations would you give to people that are living in areas with poor water sanitation?
Okay, the thing is, for the fact that that place has been identified as an area with poor sanitation is already a community problem. And if you want to make a change, it can start with you.
Okay.
Like proper sewage disposal, proper refuse disposal. You tell your neighbor, Yarisi, don't throw that refuse there, maybe we should burn it.
What are your final words for people on water sanitation, food handling, and then this cholera of a thing?
I think to just wrap it up, be intentional.
That's
be intentional. That's just it. Because a lot of times people know what to do.
Yeah, but we are just being lazy.
Being lackadaisical, you don't want to do too much stress. But be intentional, is your life at risk. Yes, so be intentional.
Thank you so much. My light has come. Thank you so much for joining us. I really had an amazing time with you in the studio, and I look forward to having you subsequently.
Thank you.
So guys, you've heard from us on water handling, food handling, and water hygiene and sanitation. These are things you really need to pay attention to. Your health is very important. You may look at it as something that is just very minimal, is nothing, but then the aftermath of these things are very grievous and terrible, and you really need to pay attention to that. So I would urge you to pay attention to your water, the sources, even your food. These are things that we really need to pay attention to when we say we want to live a life that is above sicknesses and diseases. Cholera is a no-no. It is something you don't want to experience. It is something I also don't want to experience, and I also don't want you to experience such. So please take your water and food hygiene very seriously. Don't joke with that. Until next time, when I see you in the next episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye.